Imagine a world where robots are part of our everyday life, and not only as helpers, but also as companions and friends. And a world in which the minds of such robots are not just built in the big technological centers of the world, but even in a small oasis city in the middle of the Arabian desert, such as Al-Ain. Furthermore, imagine a world where we can all participate in wider intelligent entities that might potentially be made up of thousands of people and machines, even with 5 seconds of our time every day, and whose geographical span might cover whole cities. And finally, imagine a world where the collective mind of the citizens can be harnessed in order to create efficient participatory governance for the smart cities of the future. These three have been the goals of my research in the last decades.
Named after the ancient philosopher renowned for his early
and they have produced quite some fruit.
But unlike his older counterpart, this Ibn Sina is altogether more high-tech. As well as being fluent in English and Arabic, he can hold a conversation with humans. He looks for information about us on the internet and uses that to chat with us. He'll also remember it for the next time you meet. But this lab isn't in Japan, China, or the United States. It's in Al-Ain, just an hour's drive from the UAE capital, Abu Dhabi.
So one of the prime examples of fruit in these lines of research was the world's first Arabic language dialogic robot named Ibn Sina, which was developed in the Interactive Robots and Media Lab, my laboratory. Today I would like to invite you to embark upon me on a journey that will have 3 parts. First, I will start with a small history of intelligence on the planet Earth, arriving all the way to the moment where we have robots interacting with humans. Then I will talk about individual intelligence and collective intelligence and the relation between natural and artificial intelligence. And at the third part, I will ask the question about how can we harness the collective minds of citizens towards efficient governance in the smart cities of the future, as we shall see. So let us start with a journey. In the beginning, the world was made up of inanimate matter. When the first organisms appeared, we started having entities that could perceive the world through their sensors, their eyes and their ears, and then mediated through their natural intelligence, could act upon the world through their muscles. Then humans entered the picture, and with them, the first man-made objects, such as tools or machines. And machines are a special case because they're able to operate autonomously without humans. But it took us many, many years until we reached the stage of intelligent machines, such as computers. And the big question is, how much has our life changed since the introduction of intelligent machines? Just think to yourselves, in the last week, how much time have you spent in direct interaction with other humans, face-to-face? Versus, how much time have you spent in mediated interaction with other humans through a phone or a chat service? And most importantly, how much time have you spent in direct interaction with a machine, with a computer game, with an ATM, with a website? The average American is spending at least 2 hours a day online. And a very big part of this time has to do with direct interaction with machines. So we're getting closer and closer to machines, and in many respects, we're starting to relate to them. And then came robots. And robots are quite different than computers. They do not need a human to be sitting at a keyboard to be feeding them with information from the world. They can perceive the world directly through their own sensors, through their cameras and laser rangefinders. And then they can act upon the world directly too, through their muscles, which are motors and actuators in this case. And the connection between sensing and action is happening through artificial intelligence. Of course, artificial intelligence has proved to be better than human intelligence in certain tasks, such as chess. For example, Deep Blue was able to win over the world chess champion Kasparov. But there are many other tasks in which humans are far superior to machines at this stage. For example, when it comes to sensorimotor abilities, a 5-year-old girl is much better to the best biped robot that we have. And when it comes to learning, the best artificial learning systems that we have are much worse when it comes to learning as compared to a child that has the ability to do exploratory learning and to continuously adapt it to a higher degree of complexity. There are, though, unsurmountable limits to what any single intelligent entity, either human or machine, can do when it is in isolation. So participating in larger groups, and harmonious larger groups, can really help us not only have a very good time, but also achieve things that we couldn't even think of being able to achieve alone. The intermediate stage, though, between the individual and the group is the pair. For example, two entities, a human and a robot, as partners interacting together. And most of the research that I have carried out in the past when it comes to human-robot interaction deals with this situation, pairs of interacting entities. 3 examples. This is the robot Ripley, which I had developed back at MIT. It has 6 degrees of freedom, and it has 2 cameras up there on the front. And the basic idea is to use it as a conversational helping hand. It can learn the meaning of words through examples by showing it things and talking about them, and it can help you do things on a table. So let us see it in action.
Where is the red one?
At the top.
Look at the center.
Okay.
Where is the red one?
Most probably at the top.
On the top right, you can see what the camera sees, and the others are depictions of the state of the world, the way that the robot imagines it.
What color are the objects?
One is red and the other is green.
Imagine a blue object on the left.
Now we're telling it that there's a
Okay.
blue object outside of its field of view that it hasn't seen before. So it creates an expectation for a blue object on the left.
Where
that
is the
might
blue
or
one?
might not be fulfilled.
Most probably at the left.
How big is the blue one?
I have no idea.
Look at the left.
Now the moment comes for the expectation to be verified, if it is. And indeed there is a blue
Okay.
object on the left.
How big is the blue one?
Small.
How big was the blue one when your head started moving?
And we have a simple
I have
episodic
no
memory
idea.
where the robot can answer questions about the past.
Where was the red one when the green one appeared?
Most probably at the top, but maybe not.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you can see a number of interesting elements in this, right? The robot is creating a model of the situation, and then you have the question between the misalignment of what it thinks about the situation and what is actually out there. The robot is learning the meaning of some basic words, it's having an episodic memory, and so on. Let me go to the second project. Here, the main goal was to create a robot that can sustain long-term interaction that goes on beyond a single instance, 2 weeks and months. And we were doing this by giving the robot shared memories and shared friends with humans, and giving it the ability not only to do physical interaction, but also to get information from Facebook to enhance its dialogues. Let's have a look at that.
Are you ready to town camp?
Yes,
Hey, lady to town camp. Are you doing well today?
yes.
Well, let me tell you some updated news from the world of technology. The games industry has condemned. You heard about this?
No.
That's great. Great. I see your latest stats on Facebook. Is this working hard?
Information about the person that it's interacting with.
Hey, did you know that a friend knows to
News about a common friend.
in the foot of the loop?
No.
I am sending you an inbox message about this. One of our common friends, Hannah's Julie is in line. Please send a message to our friend.
So mediation between 2 friends, and one of them could be not known to the second person, so you can actually introduce people to
I
one
remember
another.
when we talked this morning that I had asked you about are you doing well today? And you were doing well, and I talked a little about changing the tech. Anyway, it was nice speaking to you. Goodbye for now.
And memories from the previous physical meetings that it had with the lady and with other friends of her. So the basic idea here is that we're starting to actually get robots that mediate within human social networks, not only electronically, but also physically. The third project was the Arabic language dialogic robot Imensina, the first of its kind in the world, which actually went to quite a number of places. It spoke with around 3,000 people in shopping malls and exhibitions. It was covered in 20 countries around the world in the media. And the basic idea with this was to create either a shopping mall robot or a museum robot or an interactive theater actor. Let's look at it in action. It has many degrees of freedom in the face. You can create facial expressions that are very realistic.
السلام عليكم. مرحبا.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
خشمك.
This is the Arabic greeting with a nose.
هي.
حزين sadness.
Now we can see emotions the way that are depicted in the face. We're also playing with recognition of human emotions at this stage, so you can do effective dialogue.
التصديق disbelief.
It's my favorite one.
متحمس excited.
And excitement. And a quick look at the publicity that the robot was able to achieve. This is Agence France Presse.
سلام ورحمة
Un salut parfait.
ESMAC, Dubai TV Live.
اسمي هو حسين ابن عبد الله.
Een mensachtige robot die
Netherlands.
Arabisch spreekt.
Shopping malls. This is Alain Mall. And actually exhibitions, GITEX, IDEX. And this is a trip that it did to go to Saudi Arabia under the invitation of the Minister of Education from there. And finally, here he is, very happy and giving a letter of thanks to Sheikh Nahyan bin Mubarak. So all of these three examples were cases of human-robot interaction, but for the case of the pair, right? The next stage is groups. And this is an example of a human-robot team with 2 humans and 2 robots from the NASA Robonaut project. And the next stage is what I would call, in layman's terms, superorganisms, cases where you have thousands of humans and machines potentially getting into closely coupled interaction with one another so that they start appearing as a single entity. Let me give you some examples of things tending towards that direction. So these are 10 red balloons, and it's 2009, and these 10 balloons were placed in random locations around the United States, anywhere. They were placed there by DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, which started a competition that was called the Network Challenge. And the idea was to get academic and industrial teams to find systems, to create systems that can actually find out where the balloons are. The winning team, coming from the MIT Media Lab, utilized social networks in order to be able to, first of all, motivate and recruit thousands of people so that they give 10 seconds of their time, 10 seconds of their eyes and their brain, in order to look around and just answer the question of whether they're seeing a balloon and where they are. All of this information was actually propagated through the network, and finally the team was able to find the balloons in record time. But notice the crucial thing here. What we're relying upon is human sensing, human eyes, and people making reports. And this is a form of what we call crowd servicing in contrast to crowdsourcing. And there are many other things that the humans can provide. So in what we had before, in an analogy, you can see the tail of a peacock, right? It's thousands of human eyes that are coming in and out of the system for 5 or 10 seconds. So they're acting as its own eyes, and then the information is being propagated so that the system can fulfill its goal, in this case, to find out where the balloons are. Other human services that can be given to such systems include human processing services, doing translation, doing planning, recognizing something in a video or a face, and so on. Or even human actuation services, moving things with your hands, with your car, and so on. And if you integrate all these in such a system, you end up with something that's conceptually similar to this dance that depicts the reincarnation of the Buddha, right? So you have thousands of human hands, all the brains together, and each of the hands has an eye on it, all appearing as a single intelligent entity. And one step further is to try augmenting this with their machine equivalents, right? You have eyes and cameras or other kinds of sensors and ears. You have human hands, and you have robot parts or UAVs that can be flying things or robot cars. And then you have human brain processing, if you want, tasks. And at the same time, you have machine storage, machine code, and artificially intelligent programs running on computers. And if you interconnect all of this on the cloud, then you end up having what I call the human-robot cloud as a concept in 2011, and which we're starting to implement now in Europe. So when you want to build an intelligent entity, you just go on the cloud and find out the components that you want. You rent them out for some moment, you interconnect them, and you get what you want. And the interesting thing about the human-robot cloud is that in many cases you can get systems that cover whole cities. For example, you can make a novel traffic control system of a city based on the cloud with human and machine components. Now, having seen human-robot interaction and the human-robot cloud, let me go to the third part of my talk. Here, the main question is, how can we harness the collective mind of citizens in order to be able to have efficient participatory governance in the smart cities of the future? Both in ancient Athens, as well as in Islam, one of the main components of political systems was the idea of shura, consultation. And for a ruler's decisions to be not only legitimate but also effective, as the Quran dictates, it's very important for him to take into account what his people think and discuss with them. Because after all, his own people will also be affected by his decisions. This is something that has traditionally been happening for thousands of years. And it's something that you can do in small villages. The big question, though, is how do you get this to scale to the level of the mega cities of today, or even to countries that have multi-million citizens? For a long time, we didn't have a good solution to it. It was mainly representation and so on. But now, suddenly, with new technologies, new social and electronic technologies, there are answers on the horizon. And a prime example of a very good use of such technologies to get massive consultation in place is the UAE Brainstorm program that His Excellency Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid ran a couple of months ago. In UAE Brainstorm, you had more than 12,000 ideas coming from the minds of citizens, collected through Twitter and through the internet, being used in order to formulate the new education and healthcare policies of the Emirates. One other way to augment such systems is to have not only electronic consultations, but also physical consultations. Bring human minds together in tables, in a structured discussion, in order to help out. And I played around with a combination of the two, electronic and physical, in my work at the Δημιουργία Ξανά, the Recreate Hellas citizens movement in Greece, in which we actually had hundreds of Greek citizens come together and brainstorm together about the situation of the crisis and about what the way is to get out of it and get the renaissance of Hellas. And the interesting thing that we found was that when you complement the electronic with the physical, you get the best of both worlds. When people get together physically, they can create much stronger friendships, they can get to know one another, and it's very easy for them to embark upon group action in the future. So it's not just talking, it's talking and then starting to do things to really change the situation. But apart from these consultation technologies, there are many other new technologies for governance that exist at the moment. So I was in the World Forum for Democracy in the Council of Europe a couple of months ago, giving an invited speech. And one of the first things that you see there is there are so many other things that one can try using. So there's, for example, liquid representation that enables you to have representatives that you retract instantly, or you can have, if you want, proxy representatives. There are online petitions and online voting systems. There's participatory budgeting and so on. And all of these are very, very cool tools. The big problem, though, is that we do not yet really know how to fine-tune these tools. When should e-voting take place? For which communities? How often? And so on, for example. So what we really need to do is to start experimenting with them in small contexts so that we can find out how to integrate them within our existing political system. And if we are able to integrate them properly and probably also change part of our political system to get them there, then I think we will be able to have much more effective and efficient participatory governance that will create not only much more citizen participation and happiness, but decisions that are better for the common good. Yet one more amazing opportunity that has come out recently has to do with being able to track public opinion by analyzing social network data. So I started a project in my lab some months ago in which we got 150,000 tweets that were related to the introduction of the website of Obamacare from the United States. And there we started asking some questions. First of all, who were the influencers in public opinion in what was happening there? What were the spheres of influence? How many people were listening to one source or more than one source? How did the public opinion develop over time, and what was the role of the leaders of the influence within this network? What were the communication dynamics? What were the main things in terms of content, in terms of sentiment, positive or negative? And most importantly, how did this event that happened at the public opinion level, which we witnessed through Twitter, relate to what was happening in mass media, and also relate to what's really happening in the progress of the project? So this was so successful, we were even able to get some predictions about future links and communications within this network that we found. And since then, one of the services that we're offering is actually similar tools for analysis and designing participation, if you want, at the same time. But how does this lead to all of the smart cities of the future? I mean, one of the basic ideas in a smart city is, if you want, the automation of buildings, infrastructure, traffic, and so on, with a very big, if you want, tendency towards having something that's green and eco-friendly. But I think it's very important for us to complement this with another side that will make the situation much, much better. In the smart cities of the future, the way that we envision them, there's not only going to be this automation of the infrastructure, but at the same time, both the opinions as well as the expertise of the citizens will be taken into account with semi-automatic methods in order to help them make their dreams come true and create a better common good. We have thus gone a long way. We have started from sand and inanimate matter to arrive to robots interacting with humans. Then we talked about individual and collective intelligence and human and artificial intelligence. And finally, we tried to give a quick answer to the question of how can we harness the collective mind of citizens towards more efficient participatory governance for the smart cities of the future. Let me thus close with a dream and a vision, if you want. Imagine a world in which humans, robots, and all of the other intelligent and natural entities that will make up the complex biological as well as artificial ecosystem of the world coexist in peace, harmony, and mutual benefit. And in which, through our participation in larger entities, we are able to reach closer to a deeply fulfilling collective self-actualization, which will start from the individual, will move on to larger and larger groups, and reach not only the whole of humanity, but also the whole of the biosphere which we inhabit, our planet Earth, our Mother Earth. So, would you like to live in this world?